The domestic automakers are in a tough spot. They're trying to come up with new sustainable products that use less fuel and bridge them to the new economy. But at the same time, they still have to produce full-size pickup trucks for people who still need them. And this is an inconvenient reality for many environmentalists. People still need full-size trucks.
This is the all-new 2009 Ford F-150 pickup truck. The F-150 has been the best-selling vehicle in North America for over 40 years. And since it first went into production back in 1948, there have been over 33 million of them made. Now go to any rural area in Canada and trucks rule the road, and they probably always will.
With that in mind, Ford had to come up with a brand new F-150 that would continue their stranglehold on the marketplace, but also keep an eye on fuel efficiency.
Styling has been beefed up with a big chrome grille and the front styling that was first introduced in the Super Duty line over the last few years. Our F-150 is the Super Crew with 4 big doors and an additional 6 inches added to the cab.
And they've used that 6 inches really well by moving the B-pillar back just a little bit so it doesn't obscure the driver's peripheral vision. Now this door is huge. It opens to almost 90 degrees, so getting in and out is no problem. It's wide and it's tall, and you put the back seat up with one arm. How easy is that? The floor is perfectly flat, so it gives you tons of lockable dry storage.
Now check out this other really cool feature. It's always been kind of a hassle to load things in and out the side of a truck. So the F-150 now has this great little step on the side. You just hop up, put stuff in, take stuff out, and it just hides away underneath, nice and tidy.
Now the tailgate is also being a problem getting in and out of the bed. You have to climb over top of it. Now Ford has come up with a little ladder that pops out of the tailgate and slides down. Then you get a little handle here that pops up. Now that is so simple, it's sheer genius. Why it hasn't been thought of before, I don't know. I could see this back in the day when Lacey was Miss Calgary, giving us one of these.
You know, Zach, you should try that with a pair of your high heels on.
Can I borrow a pair?
The bed is bigger than ever with over 65 cubic feet of capacity. The number of configurations is mind-boggling. There are 35 different ways to order an F-150 with 3 cab styles, 4 box options, and 7 different trim levels. The best way to figure it all out is to have a look at our website or go to Ford.ca.
You know, the inside of this F-150 is about as good as it gets in the truck business. Sure, it looks like a truck, but it has the materials and finish that a lot of people expect, because people who buy F-150s use them for work, and they also have to use them for family obligations, and that's why a big Super Crew like this might come in handy for putting your family in the back. Now, they've updated everything in here. The center console, the finish, the seats, they've all been redone. It's all new, but it looks very similar to the old F-150. In addition, they've added the sync system that we first saw last year in the Ford Focus. It gives you iPod integration, cell phone connectivity, and so much more.
This Lariat version is a big step up, but once you're inside, it's massive in here. There's tons of room in the back, and the features are second to none. Also second to none is that the F-150 scored top crash scores.
The thing about the Super Crew that we have here is it's not really the volume seller. The big volume seller is the Super Cab that is much smaller in the back and easier to drive around. There's one thing to keep in mind for people who are looking for a basic Ford F-150. There is no V6 engine offered anymore. They've gotten rid of it, and they've replaced it with the 4.6-liter V8 with a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, Ford claims that that combination gets fairly close mileage to the outgoing V6. And the great thing about having a V8 is you get increased towing capacity and much better power. By the way, you can't get a manual transmission either, only automatics. There are 2 other V8s, including a 4.6 with 3 valves and a 5.4-liter, but these engines get a 6-speed transmission for better fuel consumption. Coming from Ford will be new diesel engines that have to meet stricter emission standards, and Ford will also introduce their EcoBoost technology to increase power but still utilize smaller engines, like a turbocharged V6, so stay tuned. The base V8 has 248 horsepower and 294 pound-feet of torque. The 3-valve 4.6-liter has 292 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. The 5.4 has 320 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. Towing capacity ranges from 5,400 pounds to 9,500 pounds based on configurations. The great thing about having a 6-speed automatic transmission is obviously that the V8 engines don't have to work as hard at cruising speed. That reduces the amount of fuel you use, and it also reduces the amount of noise that comes into the cabin. The engine isn't revving very high. Now, speaking of engine noise and interior noise, Ford has done a great job of reducing the amount of noise that comes into the cabin on their entire lineup of cars, all the way from the Ford Focus on up. And Ford claims that this new F-150 is the quietest pickup on the market. Now, the thing about the big F-150, there's massive mirrors on the side that expand for towing and feels like you're flying a jetliner. I'm not really the best person to judge a pickup truck. What I can judge is the finish, the way it drives, and how they've executed it. And I have to hand it to the Americans. When it comes to pickup trucks, they do it the best.
The great thing about this Lariat is the addition of the navigation system and, most importantly, a backup camera and parking sensors. Now, this thing is an absolute beast, and I have a feeling that trying to park it without these aids would be very difficult. Ford has also tried to limit the amount of fuel such a big vehicle uses by using lighter weight components. The box frame that the F-150 is built up from is lighter than the outgoing model and more rigid for better on-road manners and better payload capabilities. Not only did Ford improve the rigidity, but the F-150 has an advanced double wishbone front suspension and rear shocks are mounted outside the frame for better stability. In addition, the F-150 now comes with standard stability and roll stability control for added safety. Some large vehicles don't feel that large when you're driving them, but I found that sitting behind the wheel of this F-150, it really drives big. And compared to the Dodge Ram, I found the interior to not be as quiet.
Now, we mentioned there's 35 different configurations for this truck, so giving you an exact price is tough. The base model starts around $25,000. This Super Crew Lariat that we have here starts at $46,000, and then you add $7,000 in options, and this one is $53,000. So what do you like and not like about it?
Well, you know, Zach, I've had a chance now to drive some trucks, and I know before I said I wasn't really a truck person.
But you're from Alberta.
I know. I can't help it. But there's some really great features that I like with the F-150. I love how comfortable the seats are, and in this configuration that we have here, I like the fact that you've got so much room, especially in the back seat. I also like the fact that traction and stability control come as standard equipment, and probably one of my favorite features about this truck is some of the convenience features that they've added, like the side step and that tailgate ladder. This would definitely tip the scales for me. And on the downside, I don't really like the front end styling. It's just a little bit too aggressive looking for me. And I don't like the fact that there's no grab handle for the driver to get in the driver's seat. And as well, the grab handles for the back passengers are kind of in a weird location, and they're actually too far away when you're sitting in a seat. Zach, what do you think?
Well, I like the styling of it. You want a big truck, you get a big truck that looks aggressive, and they're moving more towards that. You see that with the Dodge Ram, it's really aggressive, and this obviously sells, and I think the Super Duty trucks that they had, this new look is excellent. Also, the interior, the finish on the inside is fabulous for a pickup truck. It's got so many creature comforts in there, and it's very nicely executed. Also, the refinements they've made to the ride, it's quiet, and the upgraded basic chassis that it's built on is more rigid, so it has more of a refined ride. And Lacey touched on those features. The steps on the front and the back are really amazing, but something that you would probably use more is the easy fold up and down rear seat with the flat floor. On the downside for me, it's the size of this thing. There, as I said off the top, will always be people that need a full-size pickup truck. But I wish Ford had something in between their really small Ranger pickup truck and the F-150. Dodge has a really nice market with the Dakota, and I wish they came up with maybe an F-50 instead of an F-150, something a little bit smaller. But otherwise, I think this thing is probably going to continue. I think if we were going to Vegas and we'd bet on what was the best-selling vehicle in North America, we'd probably get our money back if we bet on this, don't you think?
I have a good feeling about that, too.
You're going to Vegas tomorrow, aren't you? Put $100 on the F-150.
For complete specs, go to our website at drivingtelevision.com.